Welcome to Mikhail Messenger. It's great to be with you all. And a special shout out to Pookie, Christy, Silhouette. And guys, it's great to be with you. And just want to give you a quick update on things that are developing with the Ezekiel 38-39 prophecy being fulfilled in front of our eyes as we're awaiting the return of our Lord and Savior Jesus the Christ. He is coming back to save us all. And prophecy is being fulfilled to coincide with that. Before I dive into that, I just want to welcome a few subscribers that it looks like I might not have gotten a chance to welcome at the end of our last broadcast. So some quick shout outs here to Rambid. Joined us. Welcome to the fellowship. It's great to have you. You've been raptured into the clouds with us and into the chariot of fire. And Keith, great to have Keith with us as well. Thanks so much for joining us, Keith. And Susie also has joined us since our last broadcast. So I just want to welcome Susie. And then also Bet. Is it Bet? I think it's Bet. I almost said Betcha, but I think there's an H missing there. But Bet. All right. Great to have you, Bet. Thanks so much for joining us. And if for any reason I missed you, it's probably because your subscriptions are private. And if they're private, they don't show up for me, and I can't welcome you like this. But thank you so much for subscribing. It's great to have you in the fellowship. And guys, things are developing in Syria and in Turkey. And as we know, as we've been watching our prophecies from Ezekiel 38 and Psalm 83, those are some of the areas we're watching to be fulfilled, perhaps coinciding with the return of Christ. Certainly with the tribulation and the Ezekiel 38-39 war, that does seem to line up pretty nicely with Revelation 6, where Jesus comes to take us away, and the great earthquake that we are awaiting as well. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe and hit the notification bell, hit the like and all that good stuff. As you remember, we did this video a short while back. If you haven't seen that yet, I encourage you to go watch that because it relates to what we're talking about right now. But that one kind of goes over the inner circle and outer circle that's surrounding Israel there and them being attacked. But Erdogan, as it's pronounced, looks like Erdogan, but it's actually Erdogan, is actually... he's looking like he wants to bury the hatchet with Syria, which is significant. Basically, he's been supporting, he and Russia have been supporting rival factions in Syria. And so essentially he's been against Assad for some time now, but it's looking like he wants to change his attitude and open up diplomatic relations. Well, of course, this has to happen for them to be in alliance to come against Israel. So this is all going according to plan. The Prince of Rosh kind of heading things up there. We know Russia is really behind all this, and Russia has been building relationships with Turkey and building relationships with Syria. So, Russia's kind of saying, hey, I kind of need you and Mr. Assad over there to kind of smooth things over so we can all work as a team to take out Israel. You know what I'm saying? Because neither one of them like Israel all too much. Actually, none of them, I should say. There's three of them involved in there, and they're all kind of turning on Israel at this point. So basically, Erdogan has said, I'm open to peace talks, diplomatic talks, reconciliation between the opposition and the government of Syria in order to achieve lasting peace. That's a quote from him. So, I'm open to that. Let's reconcile, because the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? There are many changes at the regional and international levels that prompted Turkey to take this step, said Turkish political analyst Bakır Atakan. And yes, we all know what those levels are. We do from a spiritual level that the world doesn't understand, but this is fulfilling biblical prophecy. It's what God has planned for a long time. Turkey cannot live away from these changes, especially with neighboring countries. Ankara found that its relations with neighboring countries were not at the required level, and they were closed to themselves. Therefore, we saw the need to open up these countries, be it Greece, Russia, Ukraine, etc. But ironically, he's fighting another neighboring country on the other side, Greece. So, his whole claim of trying to be nice with neighboring countries really isn't the motivating factor, but that's basically what's been going on. They have a long history of being at odds with each other, and as it says here, it's because they have been supporting rival factions for about 10 years now, or 11 years, actually, they're saying here. Turkey, let me zoom in on that a little bit for you, if I can, so you can see that a little better. All right, and maybe a little too close. Back that off just a smidge. Turkey and Russia support rival sides in Syria's 11-year conflict, but have been closely coordinating in the country's north. See, so Turkey and Russia have been supporting rival sides in Syria. So they're kind of frenemies because Turkey and Russia are trying to get together because they see how the world's changing and that they can't trust the U.S. anymore or NATO or, the West. So Turkey is running into the arms of Russia because they're neighbors and they want to be nicey-nicey. But they've been supporting rival sides in Syria's civil war, and so they're trying to get that together. While Russia has not officially commented, it has in recent days sent fighter jets and helicopters, gunships to a base close to the border with Turkey, according to Syrian opposition activists. So they're getting kind of nice and cozy together, which is what needs to happen for us to fulfill the Ezekiel 38 and 39 war. At the same time, Russia is basically giving the cold shoulder to Israel. Okay, and Israel, they're saying Russia delays final verdict on preventing Jews from making aliyah to Israel. Basically, they've been preventing Jews to go to Israel to be expatriates, to move to Israel. They've been preventing Russians, Russian Jews, or just I guess any Russian for that matter, who wants to move to Israel to move there. So in a sense, they're kind of prisoners in Russia. Hey, SG Hedge, good to see you. They're kind of prisoners in Russia and not being allowed to move freely. So kind of an interesting dynamic happening there. But as it says here, he hasn't made a decision yet on it because I think he's waiting until he pulls the plug on invading Israel, and then of course by then it'll be pretty obvious that he's not going to let anybody leave. So he's basically delaying the decision, saying that he doesn't know yet if he wants to allow them or not. They have 30 days. They postponed the decision by 30 days. It's verdict on whether to shutter the Jewish agency. They basically want to shut this agency down that allows Jews or any Russians to leave Russia and move to Israel. And so they haven't decided yet whether they're actually going to go forward with that. They've kind of been kicking people out and shutting things down, but they don't know if it's going to be a permanent thing. And Putin is delaying that because he's probably going to, waiting to see till he pulls the plug on actually going to invade. And Turkey and Syria have their challenges. Recently they had drone fighting where 4 girls playing volleyball were killed at some UN facility just a couple days ago. International coalition condemns Turkish deadly drone attack. Erdogan blames the U.S. He basically bombed a UN facility in northeastern Syria. And I guess I could click on this one so you get to see that a little bit. And so these poor girls were killed. They were out playing volleyball, I guess, and a drone killed them. So yeah, that's the world we're living in, guys, where drones can just come along and kill people at random. How's that? Oh, oops, we didn't mean to kill you 4 volleyball girls. We thought you were deadly insurgents. Right. So that's the kind of world we're living in now. Let's see. What else was I going to share with you here? Here's just a little map to give you a taste of kind of the dynamic there. Now, Turkey is prominent in the Bible. In the book of Revelation, the 7 churches are all in Turkey that John is referring to, that from his vision that Jesus gives him, that he sees there, the 7 churches of Asia Minor, as it's called, which is Turkey. But Turkey is also, as it says here, let me see here. Let me go over here and show you a couple other things. Well, this is Israel-Syria relationships, which has been bad ever since the state of Israel declared themselves a nation. So Syria has been against them being a nation. And it says, Syria has never recognized Israel as a legitimate state and does not accept Israel passports as legally valid for entry into Syrian territory. Right here. I just love all these pop-ups. Israel likewise regards Syria as a hostile state and generally prohibits its citizens from traveling there. So basically, it's they both say, neither one of their citizens can go to the other country, and they don't let any citizens from that country into their country. So it's definitely a cold, somewhat warm war because Israel's regularly bombing in Syria as well. But it's kind of this, it's been this way for quite some time. Israel and Syria have never established formal diplomatic relations since the inception of both countries in the mid-20th century. So that's the story with Israel and Syria. And here's an interesting article that was talking about just the rise of Turkey as being part of the fulfillment of Ezekiel 38 and 39. And further down here, it talks about, this is from the Zondervan Illustrated Bible, states Magog, possibly meaning the land of Gog, was no doubt located in Asia Minor. Okay, so now they're putting Magog, when we talk about Gog and Magog, they're actually putting it, zoom in a little bit on that for you. They're putting that in Asia Minor, which is Turkey. And that may refer to Lydia. Not sure what they mean by Lydia. If you're thinking you got Lebanon, you've got Libya. I don't know what they mean by Lydia. So historian Edwin Yamauchi has also written, since the late 19th century, Assyrian texts have been available which locate Meshech, Mushku, and Tubal, Tabal in central and eastern Anatolia, Turkey, respectively. So Turkey is a pretty dominant place when it comes to biblical prophecy. Just going back to here, kind of catch this picture there. So where you see Meshech and Tubal there in the middle. Now they put Gog and Magog further up north, which we do know Prince of Rosh kind of makes sense that he's going to be tied in there. But they're kind of all connected there. And it looks like Syria is now getting pulled into the mix as well. So this is a fulfillment of biblical prophecy found in both Ezekiel 38, which talks about Son of man, set your face against Gog in the land of Magog, the chief prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal. Prophesy against him. Say this is what the sovereign Lord says: I'm against you, chief prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal. It says Persia, Cush, Persia being Iran, Cush, Ethiopia, and Put, Libya will be with them, all with shields and helmets. Also Gomer with all its troops, and Beth Togarmah, which are also up in that middle region there in that picture. So they're also going to be part of this alliance. And then if you look at Psalm 83, it's kind of interesting because, they're kind of already together, but Syria, even though, yes, they don't like Israel, they've kind of been somewhat non-active toward them. I mean, they're not, they've allowed others. Hey, Damon, thanks so much for subscribing. Great to have you with us. Welcome to you've been raptured into the Cloud Fellowship here and into our, into the chariot of fire and into our fellowship. Thanks so much for being with us. In Psalm 83, it talks about how the tents of Edom and the Ishmaelites, the Moab and the Hagrites, the Byblos, Haman, and Amalek. Now, these are all countries. We go over this more in this other video, so be sure to check that out. Again, the name of this video is Bible Prophecy Being Fulfilled, Outer and Inner Circle of Enemies Closing In on Israel, Rapture Time. Okay, and this was put out on August 9th. So you might want to go check out that video for a little bit deeper understanding of the things I'm sharing with you briefly here. But basically, in Psalm 83, it's, in Ezekiel 38, we have the outer circle, like the bigger countries, like Russia, Iran, these countries that are kind of farther away. Like as you look at this picture, you see these countries that are all in red. They're kind of the outer circle. And then the inner circle is kind of those tan or cream beige color. That's kind of the inner circle around Israel. And God's kind of protected Israel with this sort of like frenemies around them, which haven't been too aggressive toward them of late. Egypt and Jordan and so forth. They haven't been too aggressive with Israel. Israel is always dealing with its share of rockets coming its way, but it's usually because they got people like Hezbollah, who's coming from Iran into Syria to launch their rockets, and Syria's allowing that, but Syria's not really actively necessarily participating at this point. But ultimately, those inner circles will ultimately join together to get this splinter out of their sides, so to speak, is the way they think of Israel, right? They want to wipe it off the face of the planet, which is what it says here in Psalm 83. They actually say, come, let us destroy them as a nation so that Israel's name is remembered no more. So that's been their desire since they first became a nation. And Egypt was more involved back in that, but then they kind of settled down into some relationships. Recently, they've united with the United Arab Emirates, and they have sort of a peace agreement there. But things are percolating, and when you got the Prince of Rosh and others that are saying, hey, we're going to unite this whole Middle East, and we're going to get rid of anybody who doesn't fall in line with what we're doing, and you've got Israel that's an ally to the West, they're an obvious target. And plus the fact that they have a lot of natural resources there, from natural gas, oil in the Golan Heights, and so many other things that they want to get their hands on, the plunder, as it says in Ezekiel 38. And here it talks about the tents of Edom, the Ishmaelites, the Moabites, the Hagrites, the Byblos, Ammon, Amalekites, Philistia, people of Tyre. Now, again, that's sort of that inner circle that surrounds Israel. If we look at some of the older maps, you can see in that other video. And then here in Psalm 38, it says, even Assyria has joined them to reinforce Lot's descendants. So, we're starting to see that alliance happening. Russia's moving in with Assyria and Assad. Now Turkey's getting close to Assyria, so that they're gonna form this alliance. It's coming together, and so even Assyria will start to get involved and be against Israel formally. So just wanted to kind of update you on that, on what's going on. I may come back and do another video here on some other end times things. But guys, it's great to be with you, and it's great to see what God is doing. Praise God that He is moving the way He's moving, and that the end is here. We're looking forward to God fulfilling that prophecy, all these prophecies, hopefully within the next few days to weeks, because we can't go past 2022 for many of these prophecies to be fulfilled. So we're looking forward to that. Again, some shout-outs, Cass and Lynn. Good to see you, Watchman Brandon. All right, guys, it's great to see everybody in the fellowship today. Lil Sylvian and SG Hedge. All right, so may God bless you, and I will catch you on the flip side, hopefully on the heaven side. Later today would be nice. And if not, I'll see you in the next video. Talk to you soon.